And to help us piece all of this together, we're joined now by Parmeter, research scholar at the Center for Arab and Islamic Studies at the Australian National University. Ian, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start by asking you about that leaked report first of all, and also keeping in mind that 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, no one knows where it is. So this would suggest that the primary goal for both the United States and Israel have not been met. So I'm wondering, is Donald Trump possibly considering more military action? And is Israel at this time also pushing the U.S. to take further action?
Well, President Trump, in his statement after the attacks on the 3 nuclear sites with the bunker-busting bombs, did actually allude to the possibility of taking more action if it was deemed necessary by the United States. So we'll have to wait and see. There is this report, that, as you mentioned, a highly classified report by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Organization, which basically cast doubt on what the effectiveness of the attacks on particularly the Fordo site, the one that's buried deep into a mountain. We really don't know how accurate that is at this stage. The administration itself is denying that it's accurate and saying that the strikes were very effective and achieved their objectives. But I think the important thing to bear in mind is the really hard part starts now, because even though that we've got a ceasefire, it's a ceasefire which assumes that there will be a return to negotiations involving the United States, Israel, and Iran over Iran's nuclear program. Now, the difficulty with that is that Israel insists that Iran have no nuclear program, have no enrichment capability, zero enrichment capability, and Iran claims that it has the right to enrich uranium through its membership of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And its membership of that treaty which allows the International Atomic Energy Agency to send inspectors in and to reassure the world as to just where the program is going. But Israel has never been confident that those inspections are actually satisfactory. So if the negotiations break down almost as soon as they start, and I really would not be optimistic about the negotiations, it well may be that we're back where we were at the start of this month, and that Israel has more incentive to put pressure on the United States to use bunker buster bombs to ensure that the task is finished.
You mentioned a ceasefire earlier. I just want to know how you feel about this truce. Is this sustainable, given it's largely imposed by the U.S., and that both sides say they'll respect it only if the other does? Are we essentially just one provocation away from escalation?
Well, we are. That's right. It's a very, very fragile ceasefire. Neither side trusts the other at all, and Iran doesn't trust the United States either. It's in Iran's interest at this stage for the fighting to stop, because Iran was losing the war. It had lost its capacity to shoot down Israeli aircraft, so its surface to air missile capability was gone, and also it was starting to use up its supply of ballistic missiles, which enabled it to retaliate against Israel. Before the war, we believe it had about 2,000 ballistic missiles, and different reports indicate different numbers, but somewhere between 400 and 700 of those may now have been used. So they're being worn down. But they still have, but on that estimate, something like 1,300 missiles at a minimum, which could still, of course, do a lot of damage to Israel. But it's not in Iran's interest for this war to continue. Iran really does need to be able to regroup. And of course, the regime itself will want to just fully re-establish its control over the country, because one of the possibilities, the potential outcomes of this this war could have been some sort of uprising within Iran to get rid of the clerical regime. Prime Minister Netanyahu made no secret of that in his first statement after he started the war. So but the regime itself will want to ensure that it really does batten down the hatches and make sure that it is still completely in control, because that is the first priority of the regime, its own survival.
Presumably and hopefully the US and Iran will pick up where they left off and have a sixth round of nuclear talks. But as you mentioned, there's also that ballistic missile program, that threatens regional countries and US assets. There's also its backing of proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas. I'm wondering if you think Iran will be forced or will agree to make concessions, on those two issues as well. I mean, we know the regime's very foundations are in large part anchored on the destruction of the US and Israel.
Well, that's a very good point. Iran's strategy for dealing with Israel had been to have a number of proxy forces that could act on its behalf. Hamas was one, and it could fire missiles or rockets at Israel from the south, and Hezbollah in Lebanon could fire from the north. In it as well, Syria was an ally of Iran, and weaponry could be fired at Israel from Syria. Now, Iran has lost all of those three. Hamas is still standing, but very weak. Hezbollah is very weak as well, and at this stage has shown no interest in getting involved in the fighting to protect Iran. And of course, we've had the complete change of leadership in Syria with the Assad regime going, and the new leadership by Ahmed al-Sharaa, a Sunni. It has no interest in supporting the Shia regime of Iran. So that's really where that stands. Iran is really on its own. It does have some support from Shia militias in Iraq and also the Houthis in Yemen, but their capacity to support Iran is quite limited. So Iran doesn't have an interest in this war continuing. Iran would really want to prevent this war, but will prevent the war starting up again. But the real difficulty here is that even though the negotiations may resume, the capacity for a breakthrough in the negotiations is not high. Excuse me. Because of the irreconcilable objectives of both Israel and Iran. So we may get the sixth round of talks, as you've said, but the Israelis will be very concerned that Iran will simply be dragging out the talks so it can reconstruct its program.
Ian, we thank you so much for talking to us on the show this morning. You have a great day. That's Ian Parmeter, research scholar at the Australian National University Centre for Arab and Islamic Studies.